in the south too. But back to this evening, and whilst we have a few heavy showers around across the southwest of England, central southern England too through this evening, most of those will fade as we go into the early hours, and for many it will turn into a largely dry night, a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Most of England and Wales staying relatively mild with lows not falling below 7 to 9 degrees, but further north it will start to turn colder. As well as that, there'll be an increasing number of showers, so some longer spells of rain pushing into northern Scotland overnight, and over the higher ground that will start to turn increasingly wintry. So by tomorrow morning, some snow across the Highlands and the Grampians, and a fairly keen north to northwesterly breeze, making it feel quite a bit colder than these temperatures suggest. Mostly dry at this stage across Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 showers across northern England, out across Wales and the southwest as well. But a good chunk of these areas even so staying dry. And for most, Tuesday will be a dry day. Cloud amounts will vary. There'll be some sunny spells though, the best of which perhaps across the Midlands and eastern parts of England. But overall cloud amounts probably increasing as we go into the afternoon, and we might just see 1 or 2 isolated showers developing elsewhere, northeast England, East Anglia for example, but certainly that brisk northerly breeze will make it feel quite a bit cooler for most on Tuesday afternoon. Highs no better than 9 or 10 in the north, but perhaps still 19 or 20 in the far south. A cold start today on Wednesday, some frost in places, certainly worth noting that if you're a gardener or grower. Cloud amounts once again tending to bubble up, but there'll be some morning sunshine, 1 or 2 afternoon showers here and there, but these very hit and miss. Most places will stay dry through the middle of the week, an increasing chance of showers by Friday and turning slightly warmer once again in the south.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Buckle up, Britain. It's going to be quite a ride. Votes are being cast and counts are gearing up. In elections across the country, everything could change.
From the first result to the inevitable aftermath, we'll be across it all. Vote 2026, the people decide. From 11 p.m. Thursday night, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Does Chopper need a coffee?
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to
debate with each other. We want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea. They'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area? The audience are the best thing about GB News. They're friends, they're family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain. It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. Two dead as a man ploughs a car into people in a German city. Also. Well, this is going to be the one to watch this evening. The ceasefire in the Middle East is hanging by a thread. America has hit 7 Iranian boats in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is now striking the UAE. It's back on. Also tonight.
يوم 25 شهر الخامس يوم 3 نفرات أبو حسين العراقي.
Lovely bunch of lads. Huge rise in interpreters to handle the number of foreign criminals in Britain. Plus,
policy is very simple. You vote for a Reform MP, you will not have a detention facility in your constituency. But if you vote Green, or those that support open borders in the world, that's where the detention centres are going to be.
well, is this direct democracy then? Reform announces plans to dump illegals in areas that vote for open borders parties. And?
I'm currently on board the MV Hondias, and what's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Brits trapped on the cruise from hell. Someone caught a disease from a rat. It's absolutely awful. We're going to be finding out exactly what's going on there. Also,
disability benefits.
Welfare system.
Welfare
state.
more than 500,000 Brits earn more on benefits than the average salary. Something's going badly wrong there, isn't it? So, on my panel tonight, we've got the commissioning editor at The Spectator, Laura Brown. We've got political commentator, Charlie Rowley, and journalist making a glorious return. It's Benjamin Butterworth. And can you tell me, please, what's happening here? OK, get ready, Britain. Here we go. Is the ceasefire off? Next.
Good evening. Your headlines at 9:02. President Donald Trump says the US struck 7 Iranian boats after vowing to help stranded vessels out of the Strait of Hormuz. Mr. Trump took to Truth Social to note that at this moment there's been no damage going through the shipping strait. The US president also said South Korea should join US efforts to protect ship movements near Iran after one of its cargo ships was reportedly hit today. Elsewhere, the United Arab Emirates says it has intercepted 3 Iranian missiles while a drone started a fire at a petrol plant. Iran has continued to blockade the vital passage since the start of the war 2 months ago. German police have confirmed that the suspect in the deadly Leipzig car ramming incident is a 33-year-old man with German citizenship who was known to the police. They say the motive is not clear at the moment. It doesn't seem to be premeditated, but it could point towards a psychological episode. 2 people were killed and up to 20 injured after a car rammed into a crowd of people in the centre of the eastern German city. The Metropolitan Police are seeking a UK trial for the Madeleine McCann suspect, Christian Bruckner. That's according to the Telegraph newspaper. Met detectives want the 48-year-old German suspect to stand trial for the abduction and murder of Madeleine and believes that they can gather a strong enough case for the Crown Prosecution Service to authorise charges. It's being reported that one of Scotland Yard's most senior officers is leading a push to charge the German suspect before the 20th anniversary of Madeleine's disappearance next year. However, the German constitution prevents the extradition of its citizens to non-EU countries, which could see Berlin reject the request. 23 British passengers and crew are trapped on board an Atlantic cruise ship hit by a deadly virus outbreak after authorities denied those on board permission to disembark. 3 people who were on the MV Hondius have died, while a British man is in intensive care in South Africa following the suspected hantavirus outbreak on the ship. It's understood at least 3 others are also unwell, but just 1 case of the rat-borne virus has so far been confirmed. The World Health Organization has launched an investigation into the outbreak, which was reported on the ship sailing from Argentina to Cape Verde. Counter-terrorism police investigating an arson attack on a memorial wall in Golders Green in North London last week have now detained 2 people. A 46-year-old man and a 38-year-old woman were arrested this morning at an address in Romford in East London on suspicion of arson. Pop star Britney Spears has settled her DUI case by pleading guilty to the lesser charge of reckless driving involving drugs and alcohol. It follows an incident in the US nearly 2 months ago that led to her arrest. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
Well, good evening and welcome along to Patrick, Christys Night. A slightly different start to this evening's show before we get stuck into the old monologue, because there is some breaking news from the Middle East this evening. The ceasefire in Iran is hanging by a thread right now. According to US President Donald Trump, American helicopters have now destroyed 7 Iranian fast attack boats threatening commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has attacked the United Arab Emirates with a barrage of missiles and drones after US-guided missile destroyers entered the strait and escorted 2 American flag merchant ships through safely earlier today. It came after reports this morning that Iran had struck a couple of American ships with missiles. America obviously pushed back on that quite severely and said, no, that didn't really happen. But joining us now is GB News national reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, thank you very, very much. How significant is what we're seeing here? Is this the kind of full breakdown in a ceasefire? Is there any potential loss of life here in the Strait of Hormuz?
I think the biggest giveaway, this is a major break from the ceasefire, would be the Iranian missiles on the UAE. Not so much the actions between the United States and Iran, because they have been issuing these stark messages to one another throughout the ceasefire, have been operating very close to each other's limits, and these warning shots, and now we're hearing from President Trump destroying some fast attack boats, or small boats as he's terming it. We don't know precisely, are those IRGC unmanned vehicles? Are they some of the small boats that the SEPA Navy has been using to sort of terrorise the Strait of Hormuz? Or are they sort of more built-up vessels that you might typically associate, being manned by sailors and all the rest of it? But he has said this evening, Donald Trump, speaking in the White House, that he predicts fuel prices will drop rapidly when the Iran conflict is over. Hardly the greatest prediction in human history, that. But that's the key statement he's made this evening amid these growing developments. But it's clear that he really wants that to happen. And we've seen this Operation Freedom launch yesterday to reopen the Strait. I think basically the Americans have realised this isn't being sorted anytime soon. They have to take that next step forward. And perhaps that's what sparked those warning shots, which have very quickly led up this escalatory ladder between the Americans, the UAE, other Gulf nations and Iran today. So we've seen those warning shots, 7 destroyed small boats from the Iranians, and now also a oil terminal being hit in the UAE, more missiles and drones being intercepted. The UAE have actually just published a summary. They said they've engaged 15 Iranian missiles and 4 drones today. So that's a disintegrating situation. It now seems highly likely that we're going to return to some form of hostilities, perhaps because Donald Trump knows that if he wants to get those oil products out of the Strait of Hormuz, simply sitting and waiting and threatening the Iranians with his own sort of blockade isn't necessarily going to work. He's got to take them by force.
Be interesting to see the international reaction to this as well, though, you know, as the coming days happen. You know, did America really break the terms of the ceasefire? Doesn't appear so. And Iran's response is to start trying to bomb neighbouring innocent countries again. We were looking there, flames from the UAE, and, you know, civilians may well have died there. We don't know. There's no reports of it yet, I don't think. But, you know, it's in a busy area where these things can happen. And, you know, again, are people around the West going to be seen to essentially be taking Iran's side over America again here?
But it is becoming increasingly a global alliance against this Iranian bloc. I mean, 3 Indian nationals, we understand, have been injured by these strikes on the Fujairah oil terminal in the UAE. But we also saw South Korea, one of their vessels apparently being hit by a suspected attack earlier today. Now, Donald Trump responded to that by saying, well, South Korea, if you want your vessels to leave the Strait of Hormuz without them being targeted by Iranian missiles, perhaps it's your time to send your navy here. And I think Donald Trump might be in a stronger position now to have international navy support, having seen that this standoff isn't going anywhere. The only way that the Iranians might respond is force, and perhaps Washington needs more there on the Iranians. Perhaps there might be a role for Royal Navy minesweepers. We haven't had any in the region since November. Breaking a link there since the early 1980s, that could be an opportunity for the Royal Navy to say, actually, we can do something here.
Absolutely, Charlie. Thank you very, very much. National reporter, fast becoming our international reporter with all of these different events going on here, but certainly one to watch over the course of this show. What is it going to mean for the Iran conflict? Is it going to return very much to something resembling a hot war within the next couple of hours? I'll give you the latest, but back closer to home. This was a story that I think, well, affects all of us, because one way or another, you are all impacted by this. Hundreds of thousands of people are earning more on benefits than they are in work. So according to analysis from the Tory party, 600,000 people earn more than the average salary of 32 grand a year simply by claiming benefits. 16,000 of those households receive more than 60 grand, 60, in welfare payments. That is almost twice the average national take-home pay. The benefits bill is currently £155 billion a year. But hold on to your hats, because this is set to rise to 407 billion quid a year by 2030. How insane is that? Now, just for a little bit of context, right? There's 100 billion quid more than the entire GDP of Pakistan, more than the annual GDP of Nigeria and Egypt and Portugal and Finland. I mean, we now have a situation where 1 in 30 households are claiming more than the average salary just in benefits. The number of people on universal credit has increased by around 1.5 million since Labour came to power in July 2024. We are now spending more on welfare than we are on our national defence. And just today, it's emerged that we are now down to just 5 frigates, because HMS Iron Duke, that's what it's really called, HMS Iron Duke, has had to be taken in for repairs. Fantastic. But that's all right, because people in their 30s can be signed off for life because they've got mild anxiety. And before someone pipes up and says, that never happens, it literally happens all the time. About 70% of GPs have said that they have never refused to sign someone off for mental health reasons. It's amazing, isn't it? We have become a country where it pays better to not go to work. And let's get the views of my panel on this now. We are joined by the commissioning editor at The Spectator. It's Lara Brown. Charlie Rowley as well joins us, and Benjamin Butterworth making his glorious return. Good to see you so much. Thank you very much. Charlie, what do you make of the benefits bonanza in Britain here? You know, plenty more sitting on your backside than actually earning the average salary.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is not what the welfare state was designed for. And you talk about that mild anxiety. I mean, I had that just hearing that Benjamin was back in the building.
So did lots of people, mate. So did lots of people.
But you can't see me going down to my local GP and being able to claim. But that's the problem. The response to this, where we now learn that more people than ever before are able to claim benefits and earn a higher amount of income just through taking benefits than actually going out to work, is because they are the most severely affected. That might be true in some cases, but when you have this situation now where you can claim benefits through just having mild child anxiety, clearly the amount in which you can claim for, the boxes you can just check to get your check, is increasing, and therefore, you know, we're going into a downward spiral where we're spending more on welfare than the government is getting in terms of income tax.
How bad do you think this really is, Laura? Because I was struck by the amount of younger people that are now on benefits as well. I worry that once you get into the habit and you realise, right, actually, I might be able to get help with a car as well, and this and that and this and that, then actually that's you done for life.
This is what scares me. It's not just these really acute cases, people on £6,000, it's a number of people signing up. We currently have 6.5 million people receiving some sort of benefit because they're out of work or earning less. That's a huge proportion of the working population, or the should-be working population. And my fear about the current system is people sign on very early, you're ramped on, you take up one form of universal credit, maybe you get a mobility car, maybe you get passported benefits like discounted entry, you might spend in shops. And suddenly it's really difficult to go back to work. You've got that gap in your CV. You've been told by a GP that you've got anxiety, that your ADHD makes it hard to work. And you really will struggle to outcompete your benefits earnings with work. And once you go back to work, your benefits stop. And that's going to see people moving on to a path of dependency for their life. And more people, too. It was 1.5 million people since Labour came in. That number has increased year on year since COVID. There's no reason it wouldn't be 2 million people next year by current projections, which is very scary.
Well, it's unsustainable. So it's unsustainable on both counts, really, which is affordability, but also just in terms of, ironically, the actual welfare of the population. Right? We don't want... It's not good for any country to have this number of people off work claiming benefits, surely.
Well, I think there's been clearly a dramatic increase in the number of people claiming sickness benefits, so things like anxiety and ADHD, as you've mentioned. And I think that is a big problem because, actually, you're not helping to people to overcome it. I think it was David Blunkett, the former Home Secretary, who said, well, of course you're going to be anxious if you're at home all day and not doing anything productive with your life and living off the state. That's not going to help you. But I think it's still a misnomer. That's the word.
There you go.
What's her name?
Yeah.
I think it's a misnomer to dwell too much on these 2% of households that are getting £32,000 because there are going to be people that have disabilities that require considerable costs because of the nature of it. And also, I totally agree with Labour lifting the two-child cap because I don't think any child should be growing up in poverty just because they happen to be the third or maybe the fourth.
I think with this, though, I'll get your view on this, Charlie, but, like, this actually takes money away from people who really need it. Like, I think there are a lot of people, there are plenty of people out there, and possibly will be watching this show right now, you know, who really, really do need help and support because they've got some life-limiting or massively debilitating thing, and maybe they're finding it harder to get the full level of support that they could be getting because, frankly, we are dealing with, and I'll just say it now, I think millions of people who are on the take.
Well, the two things that the problem here is, A, that you've got GPs that are just seemingly signing people off because they've got a backlog, maybe of people that they need to see. They're not quite sure who they'll be seeing next, but they know that they've got patients waiting in the reception area that need to be seen, so they're just signing off. 70% of those GPs just signing people off sick is not the right approach. But you've also got the government, to its credit, dare I say, something I never really said before, that tried to curb the benefits bill, slashing $5 billion, a measly $5 billion, given the grand total of it, but couldn't get that through because of its own backbenchers rejected it. Now, this is a government that clearly doesn't understand, or a backbench party of a Labour Party that doesn't understand the drastic need to curb this benefits bill.
You wanted to come in on that, I think.
I find it interesting. People often say the government tried to slash £5 billion of welfare spend. That's not quite true. The government tried to reduce the amount welfare spending was going to increase by £5 billion. It was a very modest reform, and it was still rejected by backbenchers.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think the Labour Parliamentary Party is particularly left-wing. The proposal that was put forward was particularly unimaginative and ineffective, and so I think it wasn't a great policy in the first place.
What was wrong with it?
Well, the fact that it wasn't trying to cut the number of people being able to claim those things more clearly. It wasn't trying to get them back into work.
It was trying to reduce the number of people who were eligible for PIP. That is cutting the number of people claiming benefits, surely.
Yeah, but I thought it was rather unimaginative, and it wasn't going to deal with enough people. The cost is more than £5 billion that needs to be dealt with.
What do we do now? So, Benjamin, go on. Just let's solve this before we move on, OK? We need to go, because I'm sick of talking about it, not just in this discussion, but generally, you know, the whole benefits thing all the time. Like, how do we solve this? Because at some point, someone's going to have to bite it, and if you say you're going to take money off pensioners...
Well, I mean, the pension cost is much higher than the cost of benefits. And the reality is that 180
The triple lock
billion...
only costs 10 billion. Benefits cost 400 billion. Will cost 400 billion by 2030.
Well, that's not correct. They cost 155 billion in benefits. This year we'll spend 180 billion on pensioners. And I actually think the idea that we hand out so much money to millionaires who have retired when we can't afford to help people get back into work in their 30s.
I think that is wrong, isn't it?
But if you
go to these places, they're not millionaires, mate, because you bought a house 30 years ago and now it's
what
worth
would you do to the pension system?
I would get rid of the triple
but
lock.
The triple lock as a mechanism only costs 10 billion of the total pension bill.
The triple lock will increase the cost by £10 billion a year. It is completely unsustainable, and I think that you would have fewer people on benefits in the 20s and 30s if we helped them get back into work, and we can use the rich pensioners' money to do that.
Well, you say that's unsustainable, but what's unacceptable is going after pensioners in the first place by taking away their winter fuel payments rather than dealing with the benefits.
I don't think they should get a champagne fund while we're struggling to get our taxes down.
We could start by getting rid of every single person in this country who has got another passport who is claiming benefits as well, though. That could be one way of getting the ball rolling. But anyway, right, there's loads more to go at. I do want to tell you, before we tell you about our next topic, about this spectacular summer giveaway that we've got. It is £76,543. How did we come up with that? Here's the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. Imagine all the things you could do with that cash. Give the garden a glow up, max out on a new motor, or just make sure the coming year is your year. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny for a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, right, loads coming your way, including this.
يوم 25 شهر الخامس يوم 3 نفرات.
OK, well, they're not going to do much for the benefits bill, are they? But you are footing the bill for a huge rise in court translators for foreigners committing crimes in Britain. But why are they here in the first place? But before that, not only could the jet fuel crisis scupper your summer holiday, but now the government plans for a holiday tax that could make you pay to go to Morecambe. That's next.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. And this is a live maritime tracker which appears to show vessels travelling through the Strait of Hormuz again. 2 American merchant ships successfully passed. A bit of a shootout between the US and the Iranians. The US have actually won that shootout so far. They have destroyed 6 Iranian small boats, apparently, and intercepted Iranian cruise missiles. Iran is attacking the UAE, and there is some footage that is emerging showing plumes of smoke and fire from what appear to be civilian areas dotted around the UAE. So, look, you know, this talk of, is the ceasefire on or off? Well, it's off, isn't it? The ceasefire's off. There's no ceasefire at the moment, it seems, because Iran is firing missiles right across the Middle East, and the US is sinking Iranian boats. So we'll have to bring you up to date with that as we get it. But first, though, is the government intent on punishing hard-working Brits? Would you pay to go on holiday in your own country? That's time for Head to Head. Yeah, so if the jet fuel crisis scuppers your summer holiday, then Labour's proposals for a holiday tax could also end your staycation plans as well. New research has revealed that up to 85% of Brits would ditch holidaying in the UK if the government went ahead with a holiday tax, which would allow local mayors in England to impose a levy on the cost of an overnight stay. Now, according to UK hospitality polling, about 57% of people say they wouldn't book a break if the cost went up by 50 quid. But campaigners claim that the levy could cost an extra £100 for a 2-week family holiday. So, look, I suppose if we boil this down into something resembling a nutshell, it is, would you pay more to go on holiday to somewhere like Blackpool or Morecambe, or actually, would you just go abroad on a cheap all-inclusive? Going ahead on this now, we have got the Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, and the Head of Communications at the Autonomy Institute, Jack Callum. Thank you very much, Jack. It's great to see you. Right, Mark, I'm going to go for you first on this. Would Labour's domestic holiday tax be a bit of a nightmare, do you think?
Yes, I mean, it speaks to their whole approach about pretty much everything, Patrick, that the entire name of the game, as far as they're concerned, is to squeeze as much as you possibly can out of the productive private sector and give it to the less productive public sector. They are proving Ronnie Reagan's dictum about how government operates. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. If it stops moving, subsidise it. So we are trying, surely, looking at our coastal towns, I think what you referenced Morecambe, but if you look at Morecambe, Skegness, Margate, Blackpool, these are places that have had a pretty grim time of it, not just for recent years, but for recent decades. The last thing you need to do is to deter tourism. And it's not just a question of the hotel trade where it would be levied. Well, if you're not going there at all, the knock-on effect on the fish and chip shops, the pubs, the bars, the ice cream vans, the arcades, all of the rest of it, a nightmare. So This is another daft idea. They're trying to get more money into local infrastructure. Right. This is not the way to do it.
Jack's chuckling away there. Jack, I take it you don't agree that taxing people to holiday in their own country would be a bad thing?
Look, I think this is a bit of a storm in a teacup here. We've got to cut through towards the facts. Realistically, what the government's going to be doing is giving local mayors the option of imposing a tax. So it will give local government the chance to decide whether or not they want to impose a small levy on people to stay overnight when they're holidaying. Actually, let's step back. We're really sort of the odd one out here in Europe. Many cities around Europe do this already. It's in Barcelona, it's in Paris. We're sort of the odd one out. But I think, and maybe I stand with Mark on this as an advocate for localism. Actually, as there's something here which is really important, which is that we have a really centralised government system in the UK. We need to start making steps to have more accountability at the local level for the funds we raise and we spend. This would be a really good step to start doing that. It'll be up to councils to decide if they want to levy a tourism tax or not. It's happened in Manchester. Manchester began asking visitors to pay an extra £1 a night a couple of years ago. It's raised about £2 million in that first year. It went back into street cleaning at the local level. I mean, if we look at Manchester, I don't think people have stopped going. It's still doing pretty well. So I think let's all just calm down a little bit. It's not the dark days of massive extra taxes. It's a small levy on people which local government can choose whether they want to or not levy.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel quite strongly about the massive decline of Manchester, but it is not because of this tourist tax. It's just the fact that you walk through Piccadilly Gardens now and it resembles a zoo. But if we go back to you, Mark, I mean, look, if you look at a flight to Amsterdam, to Amsterdam, for example, you can get it for like 50 quid or something, and then you can get a hostel there. Why would you want to pay any extra money to go and stay somewhere in the UK when it's already at times cheaper to go abroad? You know, could something like this actually lead to more money leaving Britain?
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, I already make the decision, but based on a range of things. I mean, weather is one of them. But as you know, Patrick, I'm a regular visitor to Mallorca. Cost me about 200 quid to get there. When you do get there, food and drink and hotels are enormously cheaper than the equivalent in the UK. So there's already a big incentive to go abroad. Now, look, on this point that it's only an option, here's the problem about giving all of these decisions down the line to local democracies. Nearly always a local council or a mayor will take the opportunity to raise a tax if they're given it. So alongside giving these local mayors or councils the ability to raise taxes, we should also be giving them more opportunity to cut spending. It's always giving them tax levying powers, not the ability to actually do things more efficiently, which is, I agree, set too much by government mandate. So if you are running a hotel or part of the leisure business in any of these coastal towns, you need this now like a hole in the head. And the overall tax burden is so high that, OK, maybe this is just another straw on the camel's back, but there seems to be a new straw every week.
Well, that is true. Jack, go on. I think people already feel as though they are paying far too much tax. And then the idea that you would pay another tax to go and visit a town in your own country just feels a bit morally wrong.
Look, I mean, there are broader questions here. I sort of actually, funnily enough, might agree with Mark on things like the cost of food. I think VAT should be lower. I probably disagree with him on things like income tax, which I should be higher. But I do agree that there is an attack. But we do have an issue with the cost of the hospitality level. That is something that should be tackled. I really do think this is a lot of a storm in a teacup, though. Like the amount of money that's going to be asked of people if this is imposed in certain places is a really small amount. It's not going to raise a huge amount either. So I don't think there's going to be a huge draw for that as well. Yeah, I think actually this is just an extra lever which adds. Is a step on the pathway towards increasing accountability and democracy at the local level in the UK, which we really, really don't have. We have such a centralised government here. We should be giving local leaders the chance to make these decisions and have more accountability. At the moment, because councils are so reliant on the block grant from Whitehall, they're really constrained in what they can do. As Mark said, whether they can decrease spending or increase it. They're so dependent to deliver on the central services and mandated services they have to do. There's very little wiggle room. Actually, if we want to see more experimentation, let's give local leaders more power.
OK, fine. All right, thank you very, very much. That is the Director of Public Services, Mark Littlewood, and the Head of Communication at the Autonomy Institute, Jack Callum. Thank you, chaps. All right, look, loads more coming your way. We've got a bit of this when we come back.
Mother.
Yes, remember him, Madda Passa? Well, you are footing the bill for a huge rise in court translators because we've seen a huge increase in the number of foreign criminals that there are here. But before that...
I'm currently on board the MV Hondias, and what's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Yeah, grief. Anyway, it's the stuff of nightmares, though. More than 20 Brits are currently trapped on a cruise ship as a deadly rat virus, yes, a rat virus, has been ripping through the passengers there. I'll get all of the details in the next few minutes.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The risk of heavy showers and thunderstorms across central parts of the Mediterranean the next few days. Some heavy rain across Madeira as well on Tuesday. Sunny spells for the Canary Islands. Southern parts of Spain and Portugal seeing sunny spells, but across the north and into France, northern Italy, the risk of some thunderstorms. But sunny spells in Greece and Turkey as well. And temperatures lifting after a cool few days here and staying pleasant over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. So as we go through the course of tonight, we will see some patchy fog forming where skies are clear, mostly in the east. And for Tuesday, a few showers around, but for most it's going to be how much colder it's going to feel. And we have got that colder Arctic air now spreading its way southwards across Scotland. By the end of tomorrow, it will even be feeling quite a bit chillier in the south too. But back to this evening, and whilst we have a few heavy showers around across the southwest of England, central southern England too through this evening, most of those will fade as we go into the early hours, and for many it will turn into a largely dry night, a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Most of England and Wales staying relatively mild with lows not falling below 7 to 9 degrees. But further north, it will start to turn colder. As well as that, there'll be an increasing number of showers. So some longer spells of rain pushing into northern Scotland overnight. And over the higher ground, that will start to turn increasingly wintry. So by tomorrow morning, some snow across the Highlands and the Grampians and a fairly keen north to northwesterly breeze, making it feel quite a bit colder than these temperatures suggest. Mostly dry at this stage across Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 showers across northern England, out across Wales and the southwest as well. But a good chunk of these areas even so staying dry. And for most, Tuesday will be a dry day. Cloud amounts will vary. There'll be some sunny spells though, the best of which perhaps across the Midlands and eastern parts of England. But overall cloud amounts probably increasing as we go into the afternoon. And we might just see 1 or 2 isolated showers developing elsewhere, northeast England, East Anglia for example. But certainly that brisk northerly breeze will make it feel quite a bit cooler for most on Tuesday afternoon. Highs no better than 9 or 10 in the north, but perhaps still 19 or 20 in the far south. A cold start today on Wednesday, some frost in places. Certainly worth noting that if you're a gardener or grower. Cloud amounts once again tending to bubble up, but there'll be some morning sunshine, 1 or 2 afternoon showers here and there, but these very hit and miss. Most places will stay dry through the middle of the week, an increasing chance of showers by Friday and turning slightly warmer once again in the south.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
OK, welcome back. So some breaking news that happened just during that commercial break there. The US Secret Service are on the scene of an officer-involved shooting in Washington in which one person was shot by law enforcement. So they have just posted on social media, US Secret Service personnel are on the scene after an officer-involved shooting at 15th Street and Independence Avenue in Washington, D.C. One individual has been shot by law enforcement. Their condition is currently unknown. They'll bring you more breaking news as we get it tonight. But it's all go when it comes to everything that's happening in the United States and, of course, the Middle East as well, because the other breaking news that we've had earlier is that America has struck at least 7 Iranian small boats that have been menacing the Strait of Hormuz there. The Iranians, for their part, have been firing missiles across the Middle East and landing them as well, certainly in the case of the UAE. So, really, ceasefire, what ceasefire? But before that, more than 20 Brits are currently trapped on a cruise ship amid an outbreak of a fatal rat virus. It's like the stuff out of some kind of horror film, this. Officials in Cape Verde have barred passengers aboard the MV Hondius from disembarking in order to protect the population. 3 people, sadly, have died in this suspected hantavirus outbreak. The deadly virus causes hemorrhagic fever and is usually spread by rodents through their urine, their poo or their saliva. So a 69-year-old British tourist is currently in intensive care after being evacuated to a hospital in Johannesburg. And according to the ship's Dutch operator, a further 2 passengers, including a British crew member, currently require urgent medical care, but have yet to be evacuated to the hospital because of a ban on passengers disembarking the ship. So they're on the ship, bless them, desperately ill, getting more and more ill, probably, and they're not allowed to go to land and go to hospital. A US travel blogger trapped aboard the cruise ship has actually posted this very tearful video on social media.
I'm currently on board the MV Hondius, and what's happening right now is very real for all of us here. We're not just a story. We're not just headlines. We're people. People with families, with lives, with people waiting for us at home.
Well, there we go. I'm joined now by GBNews Science and Health editor Lucy Johnston. Lucy, thank you very, very much. OK, look, how serious is this? Because it sounds like the stuff of nightmares if you're on that cruise ship.
Yeah, I think it would be for those people. They are trapped. They're in effective lockdown. And the reports have come through that everyone's been confined to their cabins. So they're not allowed out. They're trying to prevent further spread. It is very rare. In fact, some scientists say that it can't be transmitted from person to person. As you said earlier, we know that this is spread through the faeces and the excrement of rats and mice. But there is one strain of this particular hantavirus. There's lots of different types that is believed to be passed from human to human. And that is a strain found in the North Americas where this particular cruise ship has been travelling. So I think there's a fear among some scientists that maybe, just maybe, unlikely, but maybe this can be passed from human to human. And they're being super cautious here. There is a bit of it seems to be a bit chaotic, really. There's some suggestion that the cruise ship could disembark the passengers at Las Palmas or in Tenerife, but the messages don't seem to be getting through. And as you've seen from that poor American vlogger there, they're literally trapped on there, and he's saying, you know, it's really uncertain. They don't know what's happening and they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, look, and just in terms of this actual virus then, yeah, well, what are the kind of symptoms of it? How do you get it? Is it all to do with rat faeces and urine, presumably getting in the water supply or something?
Yeah, I mean, this particular one, if it is from the Americas, it affects the lungs and it causes damage to the blood vessels in the lungs, and that causes severe sort of lung inflammation. Well, it causes lung filling with fluid. Other forms can cause bleeding elsewhere in the body. It's very rare. It's very serious. The fatality rate is up to 50% for some versions of it. It is found only in rodents, and it's possible that, you know, these patients could have the more deadly form. So there's a very real fear there.
And Lucy, sorry to cut across you, but if someone gets it, then how do they pass it on to another human? Is it like you would pass on a cold or a cough?
This isn't known, and some scientists say that there's no evidence for it, but there are certain case reports in the literature. But mostly it's believed that it's passed just from either rats or mice on the ship or cargo that's brought in with their feces, dried feces. It's just what you inhale from their dried feces or urine. Or it could have been picked up during one of the tourist expeditions that they stopped off along the way. They've been on the ship, remember, for some weeks now. So it's not particularly known how it's passed on from human to human. There is some speculation that maybe this is a new form of the virus that could have been mutated and more possible to pass from human to human, but that's not the most likely. And I think the World Health Organization and other health authorities are working hard and round the clock to try and contain this and to work out the source.
I mean, I just can't imagine what they must be going through. Confined to your cabin, you're thinking, well, you know, we're going to have to eat something. Is this virus in the food that we've all been eating? Is that how the other people on board have got it? If someone's died, for goodness sake, is it in the water supply? Am I allowed to shower? I can't come on land. Can I get it from my fellow passengers? Complete disaster of a situation for everyone involved. And look, hopefully we can get some resolution to this shortly and there's no more loss of life going forward. But Lucy, thank you so much. It's always a real pleasure to see you, so take care. As Lucy Johnson there, GBNews Science and Health Editor. Yeah, spare a thought, especially those 20 Brits who are just stuck floating off the coast of Cape Verde. But coming up later tonight... Well, you are footing the huge bill for court translators because we're getting more and more foreign criminals, so that's fantastic, isn't it? But before that... Well, a terrifying car ramming yet again in Central Europe, hasn't it? Or continental Europe, I should say, as at least 2 people have died in the German city of Leipzig. I'm going to go live to Germany to explain exactly what went on. Also, by the way, in the last half hour or so, we're getting reports through that the British police, the British government, is looking to try to extradite German man Christian Bruckner to face trial for the murder of Madeleine McCann, and they feel as though they've got enough evidence to press charges. We have got the Daily Telegraph's crime editor coming on that, what would be, frankly, one of the biggest stories in modern times when it comes to crime, wouldn't it? So we'll give you all the latest on that shortly.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here. GBNews,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
There's a growing anti-marriage movement emerging in South Korea. Last month, a major pop star made headlines when she said, "If I don't want any children, why marry?" A view that is now being echoed by thousands of women. So this afternoon, we're asking, should women be turning away from marriage?
And you'll see that the birth rate in South Korea is absolutely catastrophically low. I think it's something like 0.7 or 0.8 children per women. It's still about 1.4 here, which is low, but obviously a lot higher. And the problem in South Korea specifically, and many Southeast Asian countries, is that whilst the world has modernized in some ways, so women now get great educations, there's a lot of pressure on them to have great careers, the pressure on them to do everything at home has not changed. So it's a really gendered society. Women are expected to do everything in the home.
We have to remember that men are women's apex predator. You are more likely to be killed by the man that you marry than any other 8 billion person on this planet. So it's one of those things where it's like it shouldn't be entered to lightly. And I think it's really important that women feel empowered. For the first time in history, we as women no longer rely on men for anything.
They're also women's greatest defenders, and we see that particularly teenage girls are much safer when they live with their father. They're much more likely to be protected from other predatory men.
You're
you're shaking your head,
women,
but that's what the statistics
No,
say.
you're more
And as
protected
for
by
not
women. No,
being
well, you're reading
what
about
about
Hold
all the desk
Nadia, let
jobs,
Miriam finish
army,
talking.
bin men, all the jobs that men do that are absolutely crucial to society, that we as women would not be safe or able to exist if those men didn't do those jobs for us.
Okay,
But we could do those jobs. We could do those
You
jobs
want to
if
fight
men
on the
didn't
front line of the war?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
'Cause the failure is-
you're
the failure is-
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Now, some breaking news for you is that apparently the Metropolitan Police is seeking a UK trial for a Madeleine McCann suspect. Detectives are trying to bring the German man Christian Bruckner to Britain to stand trial for Madeleine McCann's murder, and they feel as though they've got enough evidence to get him prosecuted, which really is a pretty sensational development, given that it was the 19th anniversary of Madeleine McCann going missing just a day or so ago. And the Daily Telegraph's crime editor, Martin Evans, is going to be joining us on that. He's the one who's got this scoop, so we'll hear straight from him in a few minutes' time. Before that, though, look, 2 people have sadly been killed and more than 20 others injured after a car rammed into a crowd in the German centre of the eastern German city of Leipzig. A damaged Volkswagen SUV with a person on top of the vehicle was seen speeding through a pedestrian zone. That's according to one local radio station. German police say the driver has been arrested, no longer poses a threat. Apparently, he is a 33-year-old German citizen. They say that his motive is not clear. It doesn't seem to be premeditated. They are leaning more towards a psychological episode. Well, look, joining us now is Rob Hyde, who is a journalist based in Germany. Rob, thank you very much. So obviously, when you see these things now, you know, unfortunately, your mind goes to one place, doesn't it? The attacks that have become far too commonplace, the, kind of, I suppose, Islamist type Christmas market attack almost. This might not be that, Rob. Is that right?
That's right. As you said, the authorities do seem to be indicating that it was an issue related to psychological problems which the man apparently was having. So, as you alluded to, a car ploughed into a crowd, and it was right in the centre of Leipzig, so in a main pedestrian zone. So it went from Augustusplatz or August Square along Grimmesche Straße, so Grimmesche Street, towards the Market Square. So, you know, you've got the Commerzbank, you're near the University of Leipzig, people are doing their shopping. It's a really busy place. Plowed into multiple pedestrians on the way, going at around 45 to 50 miles per hour. Some witnesses saw people being able to jump out of the way. Another lady who was eating in a restaurant above this terrible attack saw a woman get hit by the car and then fall off the roof. And it was absolutely awful. The car came to a crash into some bollards, and then it seems that a crowd of about 15 people gathered around the car trying to drag the man out. The police then arrived, all of the ambulances, there were about 10 ambulances, there was 40 firefighters or thereabouts, the same with medical personnel, 2 helicopters, utter chaos. And I think you saw this in the reporting that was coming out. So for a while, police were actually saying there was 1 death, while you had the mayor and also the head of the fire service saying there was 2 deaths. Later on, the police confirmed there was 2 deaths. There was also this issue of, did he flee from the car? And police said when they arrived, he was in the car. So there was some confusion there. But yeah, an absolutely terrible situation.
Yeah, no, 100%. And our thoughts go out to the two people who have sadly passed away, and all of those injured as well. And we're not entirely sure exactly what condition they're in. It was a bank holiday as well, I think, wasn't it, in Germany? So there'll have been probably more people on the streets, maybe doing their shopping. Look, thank you very, very much for giving us the time this evening, Rob. Great to have you. I wish you all the very best. Rob Hyde there is a journalist based in Germany. Look, the reason why I've just let Rob go slightly early there is because I want to tell you about a couple of big stories that we've got coming up in the next hour. Most notably, we are going to be talking about the fact that there's this developing story this evening, which is that apparently the Metropolitan Police believe they now have enough information and enough evidence to charge Christian Bruckner for the murder of Maddie McCann. And it comes 19 years pretty much to the day that Maddie McCann was taken from Praia de Luz in Portugal, and that is the development that Christian Bruckner, we are going to try to extradite him now to Britain. So the questions here are what? What is it the police have got? What have our authorities got that maybe the Germans did not? Are we about to witness the final resolution here to what would be, I mean, one of the most sensational news stories ever, really, if they do genuinely crack the Maddie McCann case? But I'm also going to be talking about this.
Mother.
Yes, you are footing the bill for a huge rise in court translators for foreign criminals like Mada Passa, remember him? Plus, Reform has announced plans to dump migrants, illegal migrants, in areas that vote for open border parties. Is that fair enough? Is that direct democracy? What do you make of that? And I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. So, don't go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. So as we go through the course of tonight, we will see some patchy fog forming where skies are clear, mostly in the east. And for Tuesday, a few showers around, but for most it's going to be how much colder it's going to feel. And we have got that colder Arctic air now spreading its way southwards across Scotland. By the end of tomorrow, it will even be feeling quite a bit chillier in the south too. But back to this evening, and whilst we have a few heavy showers around across the southwest of England, central southern England too through this evening, most of those will fade as we go into the early hours, and for many it will turn into a largely dry night, a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Most of England and Wales staying relatively mild with lows not falling below 7 to 9 degrees. But further north, it will start to turn colder. As well as that, there'll be an increasing number of showers. So some longer spells of rain pushing into northern Scotland overnight. And over the higher ground, that will start to turn increasingly wintry. So by tomorrow morning, some snow across the Highlands and the Grampians and a fairly keen north to northwesterly breeze, making it feel quite a bit colder than these temperatures suggest. Mostly dry at this stage across Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 showers across northern England, out across Wales and the southwest as well. But a good chunk of these areas, even so, staying dry. And for most, Tuesday will be a dry day. Cloud amounts will vary. There'll be some sunny spells though, the best of which perhaps across the Midlands and eastern parts of England. But overall cloud amounts probably increasing as we go into the afternoon. And we might just see 1 or 2 isolated showers developing elsewhere, northeast England, East Anglia for example. But certainly that brisk northerly breeze will make it feel quite a bit cooler for most on Tuesday afternoon. Highs no better than 9 or 10 in the north, but perhaps still 19 or 20 in the far south. A cold start today on Wednesday, some frost in places. Certainly worth noting that if you're a gardener or grower. Cloud amounts once again tending to bubble up, but there'll be some morning sunshine, 1 or 2 afternoon showers here and there, but these very hit and miss. Most places will stay dry through the middle of the week, an increasing chance of showers by Friday and turning slightly warmer once again in the south.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. Live. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Buckle up, Britain. It's going to be quite a ride. Votes are being cast and counts are gearing up in elections across the country. Everything could change, from the first result to the inevitable aftermath. We'll be across it all. Vote 2026, the people decide. From 11 p.m. Thursday night, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Does Chopper need a coffee?
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable. What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. Well, you are now looking at live pictures because the ceasefire in the Middle East is hanging by a thread. In fact, it doesn't really exist at the moment because America has hit 7 Iranian boats in the Strait of Hormuz and Iran is now firing missiles at the UAE. It's back on. Also tonight... You are paying the huge bill for the increase in interpreters to handle the sheer number of foreigners committing crimes in Britain. Why are they even here, though, if they can't speak the language and they're a criminal? Plus...
Policy is very simple. You vote for a Reform MP, you will not have a detention facility in your constituency. But if you vote Green, or those that support open borders in the world, that's where the detention centres are going to be.
Yeah, well, Reform has announced plans to just dump illegal migrants in areas that vote for pro-open border parties. Do you have a problem with that? Also, I'm going to reveal all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and there is a massive breaking news story on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. The Metropolitan Police is seeking a UK trial for a Madeleine McCann suspect. Detectives are trying to bring Christian Bruckner to Britain to stand trial. They believe they've got enough evidence to get him charged with her murder. The Daily Telegraph's crime editor, Martin Evans, will join me for all the latest on that. Plus, on my panel tonight, we've got the commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, political commentator, Charlie Rowley, and the journalist, Benjamin Butterworth. And can you tell me what's happening here? That is absolutely remarkable, that. Get ready, Britain, here we go. If you can't speak the language and you commit a crime, you got to go. Next.
Good evening. Your headlines at 2 minutes past 10.
President Donald Trump says the US struck 7 Iranian boats after vowing to help stranded vessels out of the Strait of Hormuz. Mr. Trump took to Truth Social to note that at this moment there had been no damage going through the shipping strait. The US president also said South Korea should join US efforts to protect ship movements near Iran after one of its cargo ships was reportedly hit today. Elsewhere, the United Arab Emirates says it has intercepted 3 Iranian missiles, while a drone started a fire at a petrol plant. Iran has continued to blockade the vital passage since the start of the war 2 months ago. The US Secret Service has said it was on the scene of an officer-involved shooting in Washington in which one person was shot by law enforcement. One individual was shot by law enforcement at the 15th Street and Independence Avenue, though their condition is currently unknown. We will bring you more on that story as we get it. German police have confirmed that the suspect in the deadly Leipzig car ramming incident is a 33-year-old man with German citizenship who was known to the police. They say the motive is not clear at the moment. It doesn't seem to be a premeditated attack, but it could point towards a psychological episode. 2 people were killed and up to 20 injured after a car rammed into a crowd of people in the centre of the eastern German city. The Metropolitan Police are seeking a UK trial for the Madeleine McCann suspect Christian Bruckner. That's according to the Telegraph newspaper. Met detectives want the 48-year-old German suspect to stand trial for the abduction and murder of Madeleine, and they believe they can gather a strong enough case for the Crown Prosecution Service to authorise charges. It's being reported that one Scotland Yard's most senior officers is leading a push to charge the suspect before the 20th anniversary of Madeleine's disappearance next year. However, the German constitution prevents the extradition of its citizens to non-EU countries, which could see Berlin reject the request. 23 British passengers and crew are trapped on board an Atlantic cruise ship hit by a deadly virus outbreak after authorities denied those on board permission to disembark. 3 people who were on the MV Hondius have died, while a British man is in intensive care in South Africa following the suspected hantavirus outbreak on the ship. It's understood at least 3 others are also unwell, but just one case of the rat-borne virus has so far been confirmed. The World Health Organization has launched an investigation into the outbreak, which was reported on the ship sailing from Argentina to Cape Verde. Pop star Britney Spears has settled her DUI case by pleading guilty to the lesser charge of reckless driving involving drugs and alcohol. It follows an incident in the US nearly 2 months ago that led to her arrest. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
OK, well, welcome along to Patrick Christys tonight. Now, I need to tell you about this huge breaking news story on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. We've got more detail on this in about half an hour's time with the man who got the scoop. But the Metropolitan Police is seeking a UK trial for the Madeleine McCann suspect, Christian Bruckner. They want to extradite him to Britain to stand trial. He has been in the frame for Maddie's kidnap and clearly subsequent murder, according to the Met Police, because he was said to have revealed to another prisoner that he'd taken her or he knew where she was. And there's been numerous different incidents with Christian Bruckner going back quite a long time. They've searched an allotment that he had. They've searched a van that he had, a camper van that he used to drive around at the Algarve and other parts of Europe in. In that, they did find children's swimwear, which is pretty grim. None of that, of course, belonging to Maddie McCann. They've also dug up various different areas around where Maddie went missing, including near a reservoir. You might remember that from a couple of years ago. We sent our reporter Mark White over there because they believed that they had some form of intelligence to really nail this guy for the crime. But they couldn't make it stick. So what have our police got, or what do they think they've got, that will now get that guilty verdict for Christian Bruckner? I'll reveal all with the man who wrote that story. It's the Telegraph's crime editor, Martin Evans, in just a few minutes' time. But before that, Britain has become a playground for foreign criminals. So there were just shy of 173,000 arrests of foreign citizens between April 2024 and March 2025. And that, my friends, is an average of 473 a day. Yes, 473 foreigners arrested every single day in Britain. Just think about the amount of police time taking up dealing with those people and those problems that, frankly, we don't need here. But it gets worse, actually. You're paying for them to have interpreters when they go to court. And the languages causing the rising demand for translation services were Arabic, Urdu, Punjabi, Kurdish and Bengali. And there were a total of 11,734 requests for an Arabic translation service in 2024, the most recent year for which data is available, up 208% since 2020. Remarkable, really, isn't it? So, the cost of providing translation services has almost doubled from £21.4 million in 2020 to £38.6 million in 2024. And it's not rocket science to work out why this is happening. We are importing the third world and we're getting the third world's problems. I mean, take this bloke, for example.
Mother.
Oh, everybody remembers Madapasa, don't they? The Afghan gun-obsessed nutter who came to Britain illegally and got locked up for threatening to kill Nigel Farage. He turned up on day one of his court case. There was no interpreter. He then said he didn't really want an interpreter. He said that in English, by the way. And the judge insisted that he needed one, so they just had to adjourn the case for a few days and go and get one. A total of 1,036 trial days have been lost owing to the lack of an interpreter last year. Another bloke who needed an interpreter was Deng Majek. Now, Majek murdered Rhiannon White, who worked at the migrant hotel that he was staying in. Then he was seen doing a celebratory dance afterwards as the blue lights of the emergency vehicles were behind him, tending to Rhiannon, who obviously sadly passed away. So he was able to break into Britain, sort himself out with a cushy little hotel room, murder a young mother, and we still have to give him an interpreter in court. But it looks like this problem is only going to get worse. Now, 1 in every 5 migrant boats coming across the Channel has come from Belgium. So we are now being invaded from 2 different European countries. The latest is that around 12% of our entire prison population are foreign criminals, and we're seeing a huge increase in people who don't speak English committing crimes. Look, if you commit a crime in this country and you're not from here, then you should really be sent home. And if you don't speak the language, you shouldn't really be here in the first place. Another remarkable thing is that the Labour government has looked at this problem, and it looks like they've decided to make it easier for migrants to cheat on English language tests by moving them online. Amazing. What could possibly go wrong, OK? Look, just think about this. 473 foreigners are arrested for a crime in Britain every single day. You've got the police time issue, but how many victims is that? Why aren't we doing more to stop this madness? Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. We've got Lara Brown, commissioning editor at The Spectator, Charlie Rowley, political commentator, and Benjamin Butterworth, journalist as well. Look, Charlie, what do we do here about the sheer volume of foreign criminals and the amount of money that we're spending on their interpreters?
Well, we should be stopping these people getting into the country even before they're able to go on to commit a crime and end up in the criminal justice system. So if you come to this country, usually illegally at the minute, that's been the big focus of those small boat crossings. And if you can't identify the individual because they've seemingly lost their phone or passport or whatever, can't speak the language, if you can't determine who these people are, where they've come from, what persecution they're supposedly fleeing, then they should be deported. It's as simple as that. That stops these people coming into the country in the first place. It stops them having to be put up in an asylum hotel at the cost of the taxpayer. It stops them going on to commit a potential crime, which takes up police time and resources. It could be stopped tomorrow, if the government had the will to be able to deport these people, whether it's to Rwanda or an alternative, which I didn't think was a bad idea back in the day. But the idea that people are still coming into the country, they're able to live and walk amongst us and go on to commit the crimes, and the figures that you've just reported are insane. It should be stopped.
The other thing as well is it doesn't explicitly say this in the report, but I think you can deduce a couple of things here, because there are certain language tests for actual legal migrants. OK, now a bit dubious to say the least, but when you look at the languages where they've seen a huge uptick in a desire for court translators. Those are languages where lots of the small boat migrants come from. And I think the second story here is the sheer volume of crime being committed by these illegal migrants.
I would say two things on that. I think this is an immigration problem broadly. It's obviously partly a small boat problem, but we have to bear in mind that the source countries for a lot of the translation are also the source countries for the care worker visa, which, along with a few other changes to the migration system, saw 2 million people come here in a few years. And I think what we are seeing now are the consequences of that policy down the line. What makes me really angry, though, about this case, we have lost 1,000 trial days to translators not being available. That's because we haven't got the sheer number of translators to throw at the court system. We never expected this to happen. And we often have issues where a translator has the wrong dialect. David Lammy has told us we should abolish jury trials because of the backlog. Why isn't he focusing on this issue instead?
That's a great point.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, actually, you know, anecdotally, I've heard cases where migrants will claim to have a rare dialect of the language, and then that slows down the justice process because they can't find someone to translate. And so there are examples where it's a sort of malintention to try and affect the justice process. But I think it is wrong to suggest that having translators shouldn't be available, because at the point at which we've allowed someone to come to this country, to work here, to live here, they should have the same access to the justice in this country that anyone else does. Presumably, as well, some of those court translators are not only for the accused, but for victims of these crimes. So I don't think the problem is the translator. The problem in the case of the migrant housing murderer is where those people are coming from and that they're not vetted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite know how I feel about exactly that. I mean, I do think if someone is here, they should... If you are here, you should have access to a translator, because otherwise you're not going to be able to hear anything. But again, it just feels like Britain bending over backwards for problems that aren't ours. Why are we having to pay for a never-ending tidal wave of translators for either victims or indeed perpetrators? Why are we importing foreign criminals? Why are we going to have them in British prisons? So and losing court days. You know, 1,000 and odd court days. I mean, there are people who are, you know, rape victims, for goodness sake, who are having to wait years for their day in court, and it's because of stuff like this.
Absolutely. And look, you know, we talk about how many days are lost in court and how much time is wasted by the police and how much money and resource that will take up. And yet, you know, we should be reforming all of that to make sure that actually every penny is spent on this country. Instead, you've got a Labour government that is, instead of tackling that problem, is going after the pensioners, is going after the farmers, is putting up business rates, is putting up national insurance contributions. So it is attacking this government, you know, hard-working Brits who are picking up the bill for these people who come over, commit the crimes, and we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, when a British person moves to Benidorm, for example, you know, not many of them learn Spanish, and so you're saying...
fine place, I think you'll find.
Perfectly
fine place.
You're not claiming... But you don't go... How many people go, you know what, I can't wait to go to Benidorm and have 6 kids I can't afford, put them all in the local school,
they go there often in their older age, and then they are a burden on the Spanish health system. That costs a fortune.
Well, that's up to Spain to fix. It's their immigration system.
But I bet you wouldn't say that they shouldn't have access to justice in Spain because they don't speak Spanish, which they most likely don't. You know, justice should be equal for everybody, including, for that matter, some of these people could have just been tourists that had a horrible incident.
They could have been.
But can you recognise this as a symptom of a wider problem?
Sorry, go on.
I mean, I think... I'm not sure anyone here is proposing taking translators away. They're a part of the system. We're pointing out this is a symptom of exceptionally bad policy from the government over the last 5 years.
And also, Laura, the other dimension to this is that now, apparently, 1 in 5 of these migrant boats that are setting off and arriving now are coming from Belgium. So we've just got some deal with the French, and it looks as though it's not actually going to get any better, because it turns out they're quite wily, these human traffickers, aren't they?
Well, we don't have a deal with the French meaningfully in any way, shape or form. We're fighting a case of sort of one of the few people we tried to send back is currently in the courts over human rights, so we don't have a deal.
Probably with the translator, ironically.
But the fact is, these human traffickers run very, very elaborate, advanced gangs, and they research source countries. And they know that we are a soft touch. They know that we aggressively apply the Human Rights Act, and other European countries don't. They know we have a very permissive benefit system. They know we have hotels. And therefore, they are going to do everything they can to send migrants to our country. Until we have a suitable deterrent in place, that will not stop.
Well, it's yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the lack of deterrent, but it's also the government just doing what it says it's going to do. So the idea that it went all around the country at the last general election telling us that it was going to smash the gangs have moved from France to Belgium. You don't need to be, Einstein in the political world to work out where they're coming from now, what we need to do to stop it. And we just need to get tougher.
The issue is the French police are doing nothing to smash the gangs because it benefits them when the gangs track people across the channel.
It's taking our money.
Yeah. Should someone who's arrived legally, so forgetting the fact that I think in these courtroom translated documents we've been talking about here, I suspect that most of them are illegal migrants, which is why there's been no burden on them to try to learn the language at all. But should someone who's here legally be able to stay in this country if they can't speak English?
Well, I think if you get citizenship, you have to meet a level of English in order to pass the tests. Everyone should try and learn English. Of course they should, for integration purposes. You know, you get people that have lived here decades, often sort of wives from, Southeast Asia and Pakistan and things, and they don't speak English, and that's horrible. That denies them access to society. But, you know, there are plenty of people in this country that don't speak great English, that run corner shops, that drive taxis, that work much longer hours than many of us do, and they contribute massively. And so the idea that their contribution to society and to wellness ends at whether they're fluent in English, I think is unfair.
What do you think, Laura?
I completely disagree, I'm afraid. I think one of the issues we've had for 20 years, we have almost no expectation of integration. Yes, to get citizenship, you need to learn a very, very small amount of English, but to constantly renew a visa or to get indefinite leave to remain, which functions very similarly, you simply don't. And maybe you can drive a taxi or run a corner shop, but you can't properly contribute to society. You're more likely to be victimised as sort of a victim of domestic abuse because you aren't able to contact the police and work with the authorities. You can't have very, very basic interactions. If you're driving a taxi and there's an emergency, you might not understand that. We need to tell people that a condition for living in society is speaking the language. We need to provide lessons for that to happen.
I'm very much with Laura on this one. I mean, look, for years we've been told we must celebrate the diversity and encourage our differences, which is all very well. But the one thing that should be able to unite us within all of that is speaking the language. And if you can't do that, as Laura says, you're not going to be engaged in society. You're not going to be making as big a contribution to your community as you can, which is why I think it's integral that people that do come into this country should speak English.
OK, all right, well, look, so that is, of course, the issue that we've got, really, which is the rise in court translators, because we've got so many people who can't speak English committing crime. Many of them, no doubt, will be small boat migrants. Some of them, sadly, also will not, which is indicative of the kind of schemes that we've got at the moment to get into this country. I have got a couple of really big stories that I want to get to you in the coming sections, but before I do that, I need to tell you all about the Great British Giveaway. It's an absolute wheelbarrow load full of cash. £76,543.21. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. Imagine all the things you could do with that cash. Give the garden a glow up, max out on a new motor, or just make sure the coming year is your year. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny for a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, all right, welcome back. The developing story of the night, really, is what's on the front page of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. And the Metropolitan Police is looking to extradite a German man called Christian Bruckner to stand trial for the murder of Madeleine McCann. So there's quite a lot wrapped up in there, isn't it? They obviously believe that sadly she has been murdered. And the Daily Telegraph's crime editor, Martin Evans, is going to join us in a few minutes. What I want to know is what new evidence have they got? Because they clearly feel as though they've got more than the Germans, more than the Portuguese, and that they are going to go after him for Maddie's murder. And it was the 19th anniversary of her abduction the other day. So there you go. Also, I want to tell you about a story that I know has got a lot of people going online. Reform have said that they are going to put migrant detention centres in places that vote for open borders parties. So it's a little bit like, do you remember in America where they did it to Martha's Vineyard, where they sent a load of illegals. They literally bust a load of kind of Honduran illegals into Martha's Vineyard, which is where a load of Democrats live. Turns out they didn't really want them there. Reform going for the same thing. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK. GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. So we're going to get to this story a little bit earlier than planned because, frankly, it is such a huge development. Massive breaking news on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. The Metropolitan Police believes that they have enough evidence, I think, to charge Christian Bruckner, who's the German man, for the murder of Madeleine McCann, and they are looking to extradite him to Britain as we speak. Well, I only saw this story whilst I was on air already, so the man who's got all the info that we could possibly need is the Daily Telegraph's crime editor, Martin Evans, who I believe joins us down the line now, and you broke this huge story tonight. Martin, thank you very, very much. So, look, go on then. What is the detail here?
So, just to correct you on one point, you said you believe that the Met have enough evidence to charge him. That's actually what they're working towards. I think the desire is to charge him and bring him to the UK, but there are a number of hurdles in the way. Last September, the Met Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, gave a briefing in which he said that the Met Police were looking at the possibility of extraditing Christian Bruckner. And if you recall, Bruckner was in prison at the time, serving a sentence for the rape of a pensioner in Praia-de-Luge, the resort in the Algarve from where Madeleine disappeared in 2007. and he was approaching the point of his release, and I think a lot of us assumed that the Germans, who have consistently claimed to have very strong evidence against Bruckner, were going to charge him before he was released from prison. That didn't happen. He was released from prison. No charges were laid in Germany. So the Met, my understanding is the Met have taken on this case with a renewed enthusiasm. They are very, very keen to do whatever they can to see Bruckner charged, be it in Germany, in an ideal world from the Met's point of view, in the UK, or even possibly in Portugal. One of the issues is that the post-Brexit, the German authorities don't usually extradite their citizens to non-EU countries. There is a constitutional protection for German citizens which prevents them from being extradited against their will to non-EU countries. So that is a major hurdle that the Met will have to try and get round if they want to put him on trial in the UK.
So am I right in saying there's a lot of circumstantial evidence when it comes to Christian Bruckner, because he was around there at the time, he's obviously got a track record, and they'd previously searched a camper van of his, I think, and found some child swimwear in there, obviously not Maddie's, but they found some child swimwear in there, hadn't they? Why is it that they believe he's the man?
It's a really interesting point, a really good question. So when Bruckner's name first emerged, which is back in 2020, there was a sort of a joint announcement from Scotland Yard and the authorities in Germany that this guy had emerged as a prime suspect. And you're absolutely right. What we understood at the time and in the years since then is that there's a large amount of circumstantial evidence pointing to Bruckner's guilt. But on top of that, the German prosecutors have come out with some pretty extraordinary statements, which you'd never get a British police officer or a prosecutor in this country saying for a case which is still ongoing, that they were 100% certain that Bruckner had killed Madeleine, that they had concrete evidence. And that, I think, led us all to think that it was only a matter of time before he would be charged in Germany. But as I said earlier, we reached a point in September last year where he was released from prison. And at that point, the Germans essentially said that they didn't feel that they had the evidence to charge him. And Sir Mark Rowley at the briefing last September said much the same, that the German investigation seemed to have reached the end of the road, and the evidence that they had, it wasn't felt was enough to charge him in Germany. My understanding is that what's now going on is that a team in Scotland Yard, led by a senior and highly experienced officer, are basically looking at all of the evidence that exists against Bruckner in the hope that they can put together a file of evidence which persuades the CPS that they are charge ready, that if extradition is possible, that they can apply for that extradition and bring him to the UK to stand trial. If the constitutional protection that he enjoys as a German national, if he uses that, then there might be another option. That file of evidence that they've prepared here might be enough to persuade the authorities in Germany to charge him. Or there's even possibly a third option, because while the Germans will not extradite to a non-EU country, of course, Portugal, from where Madeleine disappeared, is an EU country. And so there may be a possibility that with the support of the British police and the file of evidence that they've built, the German evidence that exists, that the Portuguese authorities may be persuaded to seek his extradition and put him on trial there.
Well, quite, yes, absolutely. I mean, I know that there's been, the initial people that were really looking into this case were quite focused on the parents of Madeleine McCann, weren't they? To the point where he's written a couple of books about it. They've taken him to court and all this, so don't want to delve into that too much at all. But it'd be interesting to see if the Portuguese police do a bit of an about turn now that they've presented with Christian Bruckner, and maybe do decide to go for that route. But look, Martin, thank you very, very much. And was it? I think it was 19 years. Was it yesterday? I think that Maddie went missing. So it's on.
Right. Yeah, made it for 19 years. So next year, extraordinarily, will be the 20th anniversary, which, for those of us like me who covered the story at the time, it seems extraordinary that 2 decades have gone without any resolution for Madeleine's parents and justice as well, of course.
Yeah, 100%. Well, there we go. Maybe it's round the corner. We'll have to wait and see. There have been so many false dawns, though, unfortunately, in this so far, haven't there? But, Martin, all the very best and well done. Great scoop that on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. Martin Evans there, Telegraph's crime editor, who's broken that story for you this evening, which is that they are looking to extradite Christian Bruckner, who may well then face trial for the murder of Madeleine McCann. Anyway, coming up, more of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. And on the front pages of tomorrow's newspaper, leadership rivals circle Starmer as local election bloodbath looms for Labour. So there you go. We're going to be talking about that and much more. Don't go anywhere.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. The risk of heavy showers and thunderstorms across central parts of the Mediterranean the next few days. Some heavy rain across Madeira as well on Tuesday. Sunny spells for the Canary Islands. Southern parts of Spain and Portugal seeing sunny spells, but across the north and into France, northern Italy, the risk of some thunderstorms. But sunny spells in Greece and Turkey as well. And temperatures lifting after a cool few days here and staying pleasant over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. So as we go through the course of tonight, we will see some patchy fog forming where skies are clear, mostly in the east. And for Tuesday, a few showers around, but for most it's going to be how much colder it's going to feel. And we have got that colder Arctic air now spreading its way southwards across Scotland. By the end of tomorrow, it will even be feeling quite a bit chillier in the south too. But back to this evening, and whilst we have a few heavy showers around across the southwest of England, central southern England too through this evening, most of those will fade as we go into the early hours. And for many, it will turn into a largely dry night, a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Most of England and Wales staying relatively mild, with lows not falling below 7 to 9 degrees. But further north, it will start to turn colder. As well as that, there'll be an increasing number of showers. So some longer spells of rain pushing into northern Scotland overnight. And over the higher ground, that will start to turn increasingly wintry. So by tomorrow morning, some snow across the Highlands and the Grampians and a fairly keen north to northwesterly breeze, making it feel quite a bit colder than these temperatures suggest. Mostly dry at this stage across Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 showers across northern England, out across Wales and the southwest as well. But a good chunk of these areas, even so, staying dry. And for most, Tuesday will be a dry day. Cloud amounts will vary. There'll be some sunny spells though, the best of which perhaps across the Midlands and eastern parts of England. But overall cloud amounts probably increasing as we go into the afternoon. And we might just see 1 or 2 isolated showers developing elsewhere, northeast England, East Anglia for example. But certainly that brisk northerly breeze will make it feel quite a bit cooler for most on Tuesday afternoon. Highs no better than 9 or 10 in the north, but perhaps still 19 or 20 in the far south. A cold start today on Wednesday, some frost in places. Certainly worth noting that if you're a gardener or grower. Cloud amounts once again tending to bubble up, but there'll be some morning sunshine, 1 or 2 afternoon showers here and there, but these very hit and miss. Most places will stay dry through the middle of the week, an increasing chance of showers by Friday and turning slightly warmer once again in the south.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
All right, welcome along. Let me get you the first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. You've already had a sneak peek at this one, but it's the Daily Telegraph's Met seeks UK trial for Madeleine suspect. At the iPaper, leadership rivals circle Starmer as local election bloodbath looms for Labour. The Metro, Starmer walks EU tightrope. And this is quite an interesting one because the PM is seeking closer ties with Brussels. Well, we know that. But also, apparently, we are going to be paying them £1 billion to pay to play with Ursula von der Leyen, which has made me feel a bit sick in my own mouth, but there you go. Keir Starmer has risked a Brexit backlash in local elections this week amid claims that he is to pay £1 billion a year for closer trading with the EU. The Times, Labour MPs plot Starmer putsch after poll losses. They've also got for the mansion tax there will cost the Treasury £400 million. Oh, good. So that thing we're doing is actually going to cost us money again. And The Guardian, Trump's bid to reopen Hormuz pushes region back to the brink. OK. Can we speak in more general terms about the Labour putsch here? If we bring up the Eye or the Times, really, here, it looks as though Keir Starmer's days are very much numbered. Who do we think is going to be taking over from him? Are we actually looking at this wrong? Like, do you think there's a chance that he clings on, Charlie?
Well, you're absolutely right. This is a long-running, ongoing story about the Prime Minister's future, regardless of what seems to happen, local elections or not. Week after week, there seems to be this drumbeat occurring within the Labour Party that it could be Angela Rayner coming in to replace him. The Prime Minister might not be able to go on to lead the party at the next general election, so Angela Rayner could be someone that is brought back into the fold, although she still has her HMRC tax affairs hanging above her. Wes Streeting seems to have mounted a resurgence where he was sort of down in the doldrums by the Mandelson affair. And Andy Burnham, still a name that's doing the rounds in the corridors.
So this is the party, and these are their three options. One bloke who is not an MP at the moment, another person who's got no GCSEs, and then someone else who's only got a majority of about 40 in their actual constituency.
She doesn't know the HMRCs from
Nice, thank you very much. Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm finding Andy Burnham's weekend manoeuvres really amusing. Because obviously his number one issue is getting a seat and getting someone to stand down for him, which he has no inroads on. And yet he's been phoning up Starmer's number 10 staff saying, don't worry, when I'm Prime Minister, I'm going to keep you around, which is just so jumping the gun. But it's looking like he's the front runner at the moment. He needs a Merseyside MP. Liverpool's really the last place for Labour safe seats. He needs one of them to stand down for him. And then he needs Starmer to approve him running. So it's a proper two sets of hurdles.
Yeah, look, Andy Burnham is obsessed with Andy Burnham. This whole King of the North shtick that he has, and yet he's desperate to get back to Westminster at any opportunity. You know, Labour MPs in Manchester do not speak highly of him. They find him
What do they say?
They say he's self-interested. They say he doesn't care about the area in the way that he likes, in the way that he claims. So he's not got this popularity among people that close to him. And, of course, he's run for the Labour leadership twice and lost very badly twice. The first time he ran as the right, the second time he ran as the left, and now he can't seem to make his mind up.
He doesn't want to run in Manchester, which would imply that he just doesn't have those connections and relationships where he's worked.
Indeed, exactly. And also, by the way, his role as Mayor of Greater Manchester has very little power. I often feel sorry for the actual leader of Manchester Council, who's the person whose job it is to run the place. But what I would say is that I think, Keir Starmer has lasted a lot longer than people expected. John Major said the other day that this constant cycle of prime ministers is not good for the country or for democracy.
Right.
So there is some swell to try and keep him in place for the sake of it.
All right. Well, could we just move on quickly to get the front of the metro in this section? Starmer walks EU tightrope. Lara, it looks as though he's going to be parting with £1 billion worth of our cash to pay to play when it comes to the European Union and trade.
Well, the worst thing is he won't even tell us if he's going to part with £1 billion of our cash. He's been asked the question. He's just gone on about Ukraine, which is his preferred talking subject. This just doesn't seem like good value for money for me. We need to trade with the EU. I'll accept that. That's important. But we're letting the EU take us for a ride. We produce quite a lot of stuff that they want to buy, and I'm not seeing why we need to spend £1 billion after we're already standardising all of our trading regulations to be in line with them to get them to buy it. I mean, someone who can actually negotiate is to go to the table and re-talk this deal through.
Yeah, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, Lara's absolutely right. Look, the EU are taking us for fools if they think that we're going to keep coughing up money to play by their rules. Well, we don't have a say over the laws of the trading partnership or relationship. Donald Trump has slapped the EU with further tariffs, which we would ultimately be hit for if we were still part of the EU, I'd imagine. So the idea that we are still outside of it is a benefit for the UK. But the idea that we have to sign up to be part of the single market again, that we have to be part of this deal...
It's all money, isn't it?
This loan
it's all... Starmer just seems incredibly willing to part with so much of our money, whether it was with Chagos, whether it was this France migrant deal that's not really a deal, whether it's, oh, it's £1 billion, is it, for us to get closer trade deals. It's just money, money, money. Where's it all coming from?
Well, money is exactly what we've lost by making it hard to trade with the EU thanks to Brexit. I mean, before Brexit, Marks and Spencer sold huge numbers of sandwiches in Paris, and they had to cut all that off because the bureaucracy of getting it from this side of the channel to that is so high. There are so many small businesses, the cheesemakers, for example, from Cheshire, a story I read, that can't export to the EU, and that's collapsed their business because that's where they made most of their money. There is a huge benefit to our economy to get rid of that red tape. You would think that right-wingers would think that's a step forward.
But what about the dairy farmers that weren't allowed to make cheese and had to pour their milk down the drain because EU regulations put a cap on what they could produce? How do you think they've fared after Brexit?
Well, that's about protecting different food sources, that, like, Melton Mowbray pies or champagne. That was the rule that worked in our favour in some cases and against us in others. But now, when you can't export profitably to so many countries, that's a lot more cheese down the drain.
But why can't we? Because whenever we have this conversation about the benefits or not of leaving the EU, it's always the Brits that are... It was always our fault. Everything to do with Brexit, why we haven't been able to grow the economy, why, the economy or the trading relationship isn't as what it was. Oh, it's all down to us Brits. No, this is the EU that are punishing the UK for leaving the club.
It's like these blooming e-gates. Right. If you are coming from a European country, an EU country, we just let you wander in, right? Whereas over there, it's like, no, we need to do fingerprints, we need to do everything. I mean, and then someone in the queue always goes, oh, God, oh, it's because of Brexit, isn't it? It's like, shut up, right? Seriously, it's so annoying. Get over it, right?
Exactly.
Why we allow them unfettered access to our plot of land, they don't allow it for us. Anyway, it's a bugbear of mine. Right, this is a moment that a police officer in South Africa dangled from a helicopter over crocodile-infested waters to recover an enormous crocodile that was believed to have devoured a missing businessman. Look at this. So inside that crocodile, they believe, is the body of a businessman. Yeah. That's it, I know, Benjamin. Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Captain Johan Potgieter used a rope to secure the euthanised animal, 15 feet long, and weighing 1,100 pounds. Before both were lifted from the Kamati River, the animal was then taken to Kruger National Park for examination, where it was examined and human remains were found in its intestines. So that is a man-eating crocodile that we're looking at right there. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you that, mainly because the footage is absolutely remarkable, isn't it? So there you go. When you get home, and it's like, your wife's like, oh, what did you do today at work, It's like, well, you wouldn't believe me, really. I dangled from a helicopter, rescued a man's remains from the inside of a man-eating crocodile. Actually, what did I do today to read the news and all?
A few years ago, I went canoeing in Nepal in a river full of crocodiles, and I was just in a hollowed-out tree, going right past them.
Gosh, what could have been?
Yeah, I know. So many ways I'm trying to die. But crocodiles are actually incredibly lazy. So, you know, if you don't go near them, and especially if it's hot, they won't come near you. So, you know, this man must have made a terrible mistake.
Absolutely, yeah. OK, right, well, coming up, breaking news on the front of The Independent for tomorrow. Top pollster, Starmer will not lead Labour into the next general election. Well, there you go. Yeah, I'll tell us something you don't know, really, but more on that shortly. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in...
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I think if we try to mix what happens in their private lives and the art they produce, we won't have no artists left to listen to, no books left to read. Culture in itself will be dented. We always have to remind ourselves that these people are human. I'm not saying what they've done in their private lives are okay and should be forgotten about. But if we start undermining audiences and think, okay, we can't do any films about them, we can't do any books about them, there's nothing left for us to celebrate. It's always down to an audience member. If they don't like Michael Jackson, no one's forcing you to buy the ticket to go watch his film. There are millions of Michael Jackson fans out there, so why should they suffer just because of these allegations which he was proved not guilty for?
I mean, I know it's not meant to be a documentary. It is a sort of celebration of his very public life, of his stage life, as it were. But you're still not being told the whole story, so are you being hoodwinked?
No, actually, Anne. So what's actually happened, Lionsgate, who have produced the film, they're actually planning a follow-up to this film. So it actually ends when he releases Thriller. So there will be a follow-up to this movie. So let's talk about the allegations now. When he was accused by Jordan Chandler in 1993 of child abuse, he signed a couple of NDAs, Michael Jackson. So the film did want to depict it, but they can't do it because of the NDAs that he signed at the time. And those NDAs actually stand after his death. So it's not that the family haven't wanted to highlight it. I do agree that obviously because the estate made this film can be one-sided, but that side of Michael Jackson's career they did want to include in the film.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back. So let's get you the remainder of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Independent, they go for top pollster, thinks that Starmer will not lead Labour into the general election. The Daily Mirror, they go for stop him. At 93, former nurse Dorothy is speaking out for the first time in her life. They say that Reform tried to close her local care home. The Daily Express, fan ban police czar campaigns with men behind vile abuse. This is a police leader slated over a ban on Jewish football fans campaigned with a Labour candidate whose husband was linked to the vile anti-Semitic abuse. Goodness gracious me. That is ridiculous. If we go to the Daily Mail as well, Kemi Badenoch, Britain needs zero tolerance on crimes that make our lives a misery. And actually, I can play you a little clip here of Kemi Badenoch dealing with a heckler out earlier today. We can listen to this now.
Very much is about Jewish people, and you can say all that you like, but this is how the 1930s started, with people pretending not to see what was happening in front of them. I am not blind. I can see. No. I'm telling people the truth, and they will always know that I stand behind Jewish people and I stand for them. I'm sorry, but I disagree with you. You just have to accept that. Yes, that's too bad. That's too bad. People know where I stand, and I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going. No. I am the right. I am the right, yes. And I'm very proud of being on the right. I'm not pandering to the far right. What I am doing is supporting... No. What I'm doing is supporting Jewish people from the sort of ignorance people like you put out there. And I will never be intimidated by it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty strong stuff, Laura.
This is Kemi at her best. This is where I love her. She's not pandering to the protester. She's not prepared to put up with anti-Semitism. She's standing with the Jewish people. And she's saying, you know what, maybe you dislike me, but you know exactly where you stand with me. And I think people want a bit more of that from their politics at the moment.
Benjamin, what do you make of that? I mean, she was accused there of pandering to reform by that person.
Yeah, I mean, she certainly does. But I think that, people want that staunch approach from politicians. But I think to say that you know where Kemi Badenoch stands is a bit ridiculous, because famously, she has basically no policies and won't tell you about anything, even when she ran for the Tory leadership. And so
she ran on vibes.
Exactly. I think she's good at being emphatic on sort of cultural issues, but I'm not sure there's much beyond that at this point.
Interesting. I think she's had a bit of a bump recently, but yeah, I don't know. I think speaking more generally again, not just about Kemi Badenoch, I like it when politicians like just metaphorically slap around a heckler a little bit, really.
Yeah, I mean, she is more popular than the Tory party as a brand, and it's clips like that people do like, because it's a different kind of politics. People like the authenticity of politicians, I think, rather than the clean-cut PR style, lines to take. Well,
Prescott chinned someone, didn't he? I mean, I'm not advocating that, but his popularity went through the roof. So you never know. At the next election, Kemi might want to start going around just knocking people out if it all looks like it's getting too much. So there we are. But yeah, look, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I know that two of you are sticking around for the next hour, where we're going to get stuck into more of the papers in more detail. There's some stories we haven't touched on here. Look, apparently 2 pubs are closing every day this year. They say thanks to Rachel Reeves. There's also another story there doing the rounds about the so-called mansion tax, which is not really a mansion tax at all. I mean, plenty of people watching this now might be quite surprised to learn that you live in a mansion, actually, when it comes to this taxation. But apparently it's going to cost us more money than it's earning. So got a whiff of the old private school fees VAT hike to it all again. So we'll talk about all of that and some of the big breaking news as well. I'm going to be speaking to a man who has interviewed Christian Bruckner, the man that the Met Police believes has murdered Madeleine McCann, and they're trying to get him back to Britain. I'm going to be speaking to a bloke who's interviewed him more times than any other journalist in the next hour. And we'll get you the latest from the White House. Is the White House on lockdown? Shots have been fired just outside the White House in America. All of that and more.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. So as we go through to the course of tonight, we will see some patchy fog forming where skies are clear, mostly in the east. And for Tuesday, a few showers around, but for most it's going to be how much colder it's going to feel. And we have got that colder Arctic air now spreading its way southwards across Scotland. By the end of tomorrow, it will even be feeling quite a bit chillier in the south too. But back to this evening, and whilst we have a few heavy showers around across the southwest of England, central southern England too through this evening, most of those will fade as we go into the early hours, and for many it will turn into a largely dry night, a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Most of England and Wales staying relatively mild, with lows not falling below 7 to 9 degrees. But further north, it will start to turn colder. As well as that, there'll be an increasing number of showers. So some longer spells of rain pushing into northern Scotland overnight. And over the higher ground, that will start to turn increasingly wintry. So by tomorrow morning, some snow across the Highlands and the Grampians, and a fairly keen north to northwesterly breeze, making it feel quite a bit colder than these temperatures suggest. Mostly dry at this stage across Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 showers across northern England out across Wales and the southwest as well. But a good chunk of these areas even so staying dry. And for most, Tuesday will be a dry day. Cloud amounts will vary. There'll be some sunny spells though, the best of which perhaps across the Midlands and eastern parts of England. But overall cloud amounts probably increasing as we go into the afternoon, and we might just see 1 or 2 isolated showers developing elsewhere, northeast England, East Anglia for example, but certainly that brisk northerly breeze will make it feel quite a bit cooler for most on Tuesday afternoon. Highs no better than 9 or 10 in the north, but perhaps still 19 or 20 in the far south. A cold start today on Wednesday, some frost in places. Certainly worth noting that if you're a gardener or grower. Cloud amounts once again tending to bubble up, but there'll be some morning sunshine, 1 or 2 afternoon showers here and there, but these very hit and miss. Most places will stay dry through the middle of the week, an increasing chance of showers by Friday and turning slightly warmer once again in the south.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, after nearly 20 years, it looks as though the